So, YBC2 Cope is trying to debunk the BP again. Let's hear what he has to say.
So the first thing we have on the list is I know a guy anecdotes. So this is when people try to debunk the black pill by citing counterexamples to its main claim, which is that people end up with people of similar attractiveness ranges, and actually it's men usually dating down in terms of looks rather than women. So
which is true, by the way. Men usually date down in looks, and all you have to do to see that, unironically, Mr. Pickup Artist, is to actually touch grass, because if you go outside, that's all you're gonna see. Men dating down. Yes.
a guy will usually say something like, well, actually, I knew a guy from high school or college who was chopped or under 5'8", but he dated the hottest girls, and sometimes they'll even show a picture. Like,
I have three problems with the statement already. First of all, height in school is not that important, okay? Height gains in importance after school, like after the age of 18 to 19 to 20, only then height becomes important. When you are 15, 14, height isn't as relevant as it is at the adult age. The second thing, this assumes that your guy you're talking to is a good judge of SMV, which is most likely not the case. He's probably just underrating the guy and overrating the girls. At that age, he's horny. Most likely, he doesn't have any options, and that's how testosterone works. Men are just hornier on average. So any girl he sees, like, oh, she's a 7, oh, she's an 8, and you're like, okay, so in your school, was it like the school of Stacy's? How come your school is just full of these hot girls? And then when I ask you, like, show me those girls, and then they're just average Becky's, it's because he was just overrating the girls, while most likely also underrating the guy, like saying that he was shocked, that he was like, oh, maximum of 5, and then like he had some boyish charm or like a Justin Bieber lookalike. And then the third argument, which is, why do you remember this guy? The fact that you remember him means that it was an exception, okay? Maybe he's gonna mention the fact that it was an exception. I have watched the start of the video. I think he did, but yeah, the fact that you remember that is not an argument for your case. You're showing something that is rare to happen, because if it was common, I don't think anyone would know about the BP. We wouldn't have any arguments at all if it was common. But the fact that you have to bring up this exception and show it and like, look, it is possible, it is possible. Wait, where did you need the feel to prove that it is possible like this? If it was just possible, it would have been, just common sense. You wouldn't need to find specific examples that you remember from 20 years ago. You forgot about all the other dudes who could not pull this off. You had probably like 50 guys, in the school. 49 of them couldn't pull this off, and one could, and that's the guy you remember.
Like, oh, look at my boy, he dated like the hottest girl and he's chopped as hell or he's short as hell. Now, I actually believe them, and I know how plausible this really is. Sure, in most cases, you see couples who are looks matched or couples where the guy is dating down more often than not these days, but there definitely are exceptions. Certainly, I've seen them. I'm sure you've seen them. And we all know it's not like a definitive impossibility for somebody to date a girl out of his league. Well, with that,
I can't film people on the street just like that, like to show their faces and stuff, but when I go out in my city, you can guys answer in the comments about your city. I see guys who are on average 3 inches taller than their girls. Usually they're more fit. Usually they're just more attractive. And I'm living in a country where the average girl is attractive, yet still only guys they're dating are guys who clearly mug them. I don't know, maybe it's different in other countries. I don't know where this guy lives, so please confirm me in the comments. Is it the same in your city? Do you see, like, when people tell you to touch grass, that's the irony of it. Like, they tell you to debunk the PP, you must touch grass. And when you go to actually touch grass, you only confirm the things that we already talk about, right? Men are indeed dating down. And if you see any looks match situation, then they are exceptions. Like, just be first or something that's not for a very long time. Maybe it's a noofy doofy situation that you thought they were in a couple, but in reality she's just using him or something. I know that this sounds like a lot of speculations, but it is that rare to see a guy who's with a girl who mugs him. And these red pillars, they talk about hypergamy all the time. Like, how can you believe in hypergamy if you think that women are dating men below them? They can't. They physically can't. If she's with a guy that she knows for a fact that she can do better than him, she will not be with him. Are there girls who are the exception to this rule? Probably. I'm not running into them. Maybe they live in a different city, okay? Maybe there is some conspiracy theory where all the girls who are okay with dating normal guys I just don't happen to see them, okay? Maybe I'm the problem. So you guys in the comments can confirm to me. Am I the only one like not seeing this? Like not seeing these girls who are happy dating their looks match?
That being said, one must ask himself, does an exception disprove the rule? Like,
No.
if you find an exception to a rule, does that mean the rule doesn't exist? No, it actually further reinforces the rule.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we should just disregard exceptions because they might be telling us something very important.
No, you should disregard exceptions. That's how it goes. You know, there is like this separation where you have like group A and group B, like whatever, like this fits this and this fits this. These are two groups, like, 40-60, 50-50, maybe 80-20 maximum. But if you have something that is 99.5 and 0.5%, you really must ignore the 0.5%. It's telling you something important. What kind of important thing is it telling you? It's just telling you to stop believing in it, to not put all your chances for that, to not rise your hopes because it happened to one of your friends that he dated a girl, like your friend is a 5 and he dated an 8 for a couple of months, and now you're gonna live your whole life thinking that you can pull off the same thing. That's statistically never gonna happen. Like it happened to your friend, it will not happen to you, not in this lifetime. And yeah, that's the thing. You said that it is an exception. It is less than 1%, less than 2%. I'm going to go as far as 5%. That is still something you need to ignore. Trying to sell the hope like, hey, it happens to 5% of guys, so you must believe. Why would you believe? Why would you think that is important? Is there like a logical reason, or just do because I said so?
About dating dynamics that we didn't previously consider, and especially things that black pillars just overlook or don't necessarily know about. Like a lot of people will look at a couple where the girl mogs the guy and immediately chalk it up to, oh, it's because of his money or it's because of his status.
First of all, I don't see those couples, okay? And if I saw one, I would really want to investigate further. And I'm pretty sure that something like that is gonna come up, like he's rich, status, or other exceptions exist, like just be first, or she was dating a Chad that broke her heart and now she's in her healing phase. As soon as she's gonna feel better, she's back on the CCC. There are a lot of possibilities, but compared to the global number of couples that you see on the street, there is less than 1 in 100. You're gonna see 100 couples. And by couples, I mean a couple where the girl is in love with the guy. I'm not saying a oofy-doofy situation, right? I'm not talking about couples who are like over 40. I'm talking about people in our generation that are younger than like 30, 35, who are in couple. You only see guys mugging the girls. And if for some reason the girl is mugging the guy, and even if it is genuine and we accept it, that is not something you must be relying on as a man in your life to try to strive to accomplish that. No, you will not accomplish that. That's like if you're telling people that one guy I knew become a CEO without having any connections, so now we can all do it. No, like the places of CEO is like one per company. There are a finite number of company, and by company I mean a girl who's willing to date her looks match, and once the posts are filled, it is done. This is like if I was selling some financial motivation, kind of YouTubers, right, who are like talk about business, and I'm promising every one of my subscribers that he will become a CEO of a company. No, there are not enough spots, as in there are not enough normal girls who will date normal guys.
If he didn't have those things, she wouldn't want him. But okay, that just goes to show how helpful these things really are. I can also just say, yeah, man, it's because of his looks. If he didn't have his looks, she wouldn't want him. But you see how dumb that sounds? Like how dumb of an argument that is?
I hate this argument. The difference between looks and money status is that looks brings more genuine desire, because she can sleep with you when she likes your looks, even if you have nothing else. And it will be the most intimate, the most intense desire from the girl. That will be the most genuine. That will be you, not something you possess. Although you say, like, I have the looks, but in reality, your looks are you. That is the thing. That is what you consider yourself, as in your personality or your presence, the time she's going to be spending with you. Money and status are things that are replaceable because other people can own them. Let's say a girl, she wants to date a football player, okay? Maybe her best friend is married to a football player and she wants to replicate the same thing. While she's looking for a football player, she's gonna look for any football player. It doesn't matter. If it did not work with this one, she's gonna go to the next one, and she's gonna go to the next one, and she's gonna keep trying that way. As in, the same player himself did not matter that much to her. But if she liked the looks of a person, She will be with him regardless of how other things change. Can looks fade? Yes, looks can fade. A guy can lose his looks. Hopefully, by that time, the girl is attached to him, but it doesn't matter. Looks bring genuine desire. Money just compensates you for her time. Like, she will give you something in exchange for your money. As in, also, another easy distinction between money and looks. Looks are something that she shares with you, like you sharing, like she is beautiful, you are attractive, handsome, you spend time together. That is like sharing each other's beauty. Money is something you give her, so that's something you lose. And let's, even if you have an infinite amount of money, that is still something you're giving her in return. So if one day you give her enough, she might take it and leave. If you stop giving her as much as she wants, she might also leave. But with looks, this doesn't happen. If she finds you attractive, she's in for life. She wants to recreate this beautiful moments you guys are having together, this intense desire she feels to you all the time. So saying that looks and money are just the same, are like interchangeable factors, is just misleading.
He's just leveraging his competitive advantage to get what he wants. And maybe he's not blessed in the looks department, so he just has to compete and leverage other things. It's just a part of life. You know, the only good argument against this is the genuine desire one, when people
Yeah,
say,
so you know
well,
what?
okay, fine, he can leverage these other competitive things, but she's never actually going to want him truly.
These are compensations. The things that instead of looks you offer these things, they are compensations. And they also never forget that there is a guy who has the looks and has the money and status. So whatever you provide, he can provide, but what he can provide, you can't. Because it's easier to make money than become more attractive.
We'll get into that argument shortly, so stay tuned for that.
Okay.
It's worth saying that there are cases where the guy is dating a girl way hotter than him, but he also doesn't have anything going for him, status, money, or looks. He's just kind of a bum. Like, you see guys who are bums.
Those are usually the guys who are underrated, like David Peterson. Like, I think I pronounced his name right. Maybe I will include a picture of him. You guys know him. He is more attractive than average, and he's tall, and he has like some status to him. And people talk like he is some 4 or 3 out of 10, which is crazy. He's not. He has a bad eye area, and that is literally the only bad thing about his face. He has the right color, the height, the leanness, the jaw, everything is good about him, and he has a good sense of humor. Like, now that helps. You see, like, now that he's attractive, the good sense of humor, the energy about him, the aura, now all of that helps because he met the minimum looks threshold. And this is a perfect example of a guy like, oh no, he's looks so bad, how girls are into him. Nah, he does not look that bad, okay? Maybe you think he looks that bad. Maybe also he could be K-pop, like a feminized man that you think is not attractive because you are biased towards masculinity, like you think men should be machos and masculine and all that. But girls, especially at the younger age, find that attractive, and you cannot compute that into your mind because you are not an objective rater of men. You are subjectively rating him. So you think that he has nothing going on for him, while in reality, he's above average in a lot of categories, and in 1 or 2 categories, he's like the best in his city.
Right? They got nothing going for them. They're not even the best looking, and they still end up bagging a very attractive girl. And then some people will obviously, oh, dude, it's because of his environment, or he got lucky, or the girl doesn't have better options. But like,
There's nothing wrong with being lucky or being first or circumstances working in your favor. I mean, some people will just get lucky and there is no problem with that. Except, like, I cannot just rely on the fact like, oh, someone got lucky, so I must sit on my ass and expect to be as lucky as him. Because I don't know what is this bias, but maybe I should look into it more and like the psychology behind this. But when someone gets lucky, people think that they will also get lucky in the same way, right? You never gambled in your life and your friend comes to you and say like, hey, I played the lottery and I won $1 million. Now suddenly you're interested in gambling too, you know, this kind of mechanics. So if I'm average looking and I see my average looking guy with a hottie, I'm gonna be like, okay, so I can do this too. Well, statistically speaking, nothing has changed. He got lucky. Can I get lucky too? There is this chance, like there is a mathematical chance, but why would I live as if it's gonna happen to me too? No, I would say like no, then it happened to my friend, it's less likely to happen to me because one girl who doesn't mind the looks and can date down is taken out of the market. We need to find another one.
Sometimes the guy's just him and knows how to appeal to feminine emotions. Sometimes she does have better options, and yet she still chooses him.
Yeah, then no. Having better options and you believing in hypergamy, you must pick one, okay? Do you think that women are hypergamous, but they can pick a guy while having better options? Then you do not believe that women are hypergamous. You must pick one. You cannot make these both statements. Do you believe women are hypergamous? Yes. I'm assuming that's your answer, right? Now, how can they have better options? Oh, so now we have to find the unicorn, of course, the special one that goes against all the other girls. So not only you're not the most attractive guy, you're not the tallest guy, and there is an exception, and that exception, she will choose you over all the other guys who are average. You know, if she is okay with the average guy, it is extremely easy for her to find an average guy. So your competition is actually bigger. If she is okay with a guy who's a 6 out of 10, if she goes out on the street, she's married because she's gonna meet a 6 out of 10 right away who's willing to wife her up and they're gonna be married. Okay, so by the time she reaches you, that is just funny. Okay, this is as crazy as the girls who are average looking and think that Chad will just abandon all the other girls just for her. It is as delusional as that.
But I think I'm gonna put this one in B tier because while
B tier, like as an argument to debunk the BP, I know a guy should not even be on the list. It should be like below D. It's not possible to genuinely think that bringing one example, okay, if we are talking about the importance of having a plan, of starting a business, of working hard, of whatever, like to make money, and your whole argument for we should not be working is that your friend was just walking and found out $1 million just laying down in cash in a bag. Like, I don't know how he found it. Like, maybe some drug deal went wrong and he found like 1 million cash and he took it and now he's rich for life. And that is your argument against all the hard work, all the planning, all the stuff. We should not be even talking. I know a guy is a meme and it is a meme for a reason. The fact that you're putting it in B tier, God.
anecdotes are still super important, they don't paint the full picture. It's not
They don't paint anything, and anecdotes are anecdotes. Like, it's anecdotal, as in it doesn't matter. We say, like, that is anecdotal evidence. It means, like, it doesn't prove anything. That's the thing about anecdotes.
convincing enough because black pillars are just gonna easily dismiss them and
It's not convincing at all. Not like not enough. Not convincing the slightest.
demand that you show studies or more conclusive evidence that this is possible. And some don't even deny it's possible, but rather that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So some will say, yeah,
Okay, so you know this, okay? So the juice is not worth the squeeze. What he's saying is exactly what I said. It is not worth it to just change your mind about things because some guy got lucky.
you could date up, but at what cost? It's going to cost a lot more than you think. So that's why this argument, I'm not even going to put it in S tier. It's probably, I think it deserves a solid B tier. Next up, we have what I like to call egalitarianism of the genders fallacy. I think I came up with this term, correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, the primary assumption of the black pill is that women are attracted to, and by extension, not attracted to, the same things as men. That's why the black pill seems so intuitive to a lot of men. When you
I think this is characteristic of blue pill thinking, but let me see what he's trying to say.
reflect on yourself and what you find attractive, and let's be honest, it's mainly looks. Like when you look at a girl and you feel attraction, it's mainly looks, bro. It's like 95% looks. It's very easy and tempting to project the same thing onto the opposite gender, right? If all I care about is looks, if looks is what makes me attracted to women, surely looks must also be 100% of the equation for women too. But
Except that we did not reach this conclusion like this. Actually, we thought that women didn't because we believed when they say that personality is important. Later, science with proof and studies have proved that women care about looks. And with the BP videos that we watch, we started analyzing situations differently and we realized that women are selecting men based on their looks. And there we come to that conclusion. So it was not this way. Like, the conclusion is that women care about looks even more than men, okay? I'm just gonna say it as is. They care about looks more than men. How did we reach that conclusion? Not by projection, because I was not thinking that way when I was blue pilled, when I was 22, when I was 23. I did not reach that conclusion by projection. Oh, I care about looks. so women must care about looks too. No, that's not how I reached that conclusion. I reached it by actually contradicting my own beliefs that I had previously. I had to investigate, I had to look at research, I had to watch videos explaining, showing proof that women disregarded men because of their low looks and picked men because of how attractive they are. Now, it is very easy to just pick up any girl who's yelling like, "Oh my god, he was so cute. Oh my god." Like, yeah, that's the first thing she saw. I'm not gonna be like, wasting your time, guys, trying to prove to you that women care about looks more. But his approach here is already wrong. We did not reach that conclusion by projection. We reached it by analyzing logically a lot of evidence, including scientific research, okay, to prove that women care about looks. That's the minimum. Like, I would add that they care about looks more than men because they virtue signal a lot, they lie a lot, they will never admit that in real life. Like, men don't have any problem just admitting like, "Oh, I like that girl because she's hot." Girls, they have a lot of incentives to not do that. They cannot be that open about their preferences, except that I might argue that they can. For example, with height, like, no girl on earth hides the fact that she's attracted to taller men. But yeah, again, I don't know why he's started this. Let's see where he's going actually with it.
But what if it's the case that the way you feel and perceive attraction is completely different to the way she does? What if she gets turned off by things that just make no sense to you? I mean, you guys already know that this is true. I made a poll the other day asking if showing vulnerability turned men and women off, and the overwhelming majority of you said it turns women off. But
How do men and women generally respond when their partner shows vulnerability? Yes, because this thing is actually different between men and women. The looks are not. So you picked something else that is actually different between the two genders to prove that something else that does not share this property of differences between men and women, to prove it. This is a completely different thing. For vulnerability, yes, I agree that it turns women off and does not turn men off. I think the opposite, it would turn me on to see a girl being vulnerable with me, right? But that does not mean that looks are not mutually shared between men and women. This does not prove anything. This is a different category.
not men. So why do you think that's the case? Surely if, attraction was egalitarian and it was the same between the genders, then whatever turns them off should also turn us off. I mean, it doesn't take much thinking to realize how silly it is to think women are attracted to the exact same thing as men, but just in reverse. This is why black pillars neglect.
Why wouldn't it be the case? We are just humans. We're like with one chromosome difference, like few differences here and there, but why wouldn't you think that they are attracted to beauty? Like, no, they are attracted to beauty, and it is stupid to not think so.
The psychological and social aspects of attraction and only focus on the physical, because the physical is what matters most to them, but they're not able to see past their own biases. I mean,
The thing is that, and we all know this, I'm just going to repeat it for the new guys. Women care about psychology, care about personality. Do you know why? Because looks are a given to them. Like, if they do not see the guys that are below a 7, they would not need to talk about him being handsome and tall. Those guys are eliminated before we even start the conversation. So, if I was going to select between a group of Stacies, let's say like, okay, guidance vault, here are 50 Stacies, you gotta pick yourself a wife from these 50 Stacies. Since I have the information that they are all Stacies, I'm going to now pick on looks. I'm going to now pick on personality, on compatibility, on all the other things, right? Why? Because it is a given that all the girls are attractive. So now I can pick based on other characteristics. What he doesn't see here that when girls talk, they have already eliminated the majority of men in their mind mentally, like before we even start, subconsciously, call it whatever. They eliminated the majority of the men from the equation. So now they're only talking about Chad. So it seems to you that they do not care about looks, that there are a lot of other factors that are important, while in reality, looks were only the sole important things that they based their choice on, and the personalities and other differences like compatibility and the same hobbies and same interests and whatever, the same religious beliefs, not like next to looks or competing with looks. No, after the looks threshold have been met, now we're talking about other things. So yeah, they're interested in a lot of other things because of the abundance of attractive guys they have. That's why they can have the luxury to talk about it, because if every man on earth could sleep with any girl he wants, he will exclusively be sleeping with attractive girls, and then he will be filtering them by personality and compatibility because the beauty standards he has already surpassed with his enormous amount of options. As men, we do not have the same amount of options, so we are more open about our looks and preferences. And there are a lot of other ways I could argue this, but this seems like just too obvious, trying to prove that women care about looks. Are we in 2020 again?
It's obvious that physical attraction matters to women. Like, no one denies that. Not even the most hardcore red pill guys deny that. But
They deny it because they admit it, like, yeah, it is, but then just lives as if it doesn't matter. Like, he tells, like, of course, looks matter, but game is like, no, if you said looks don't matter, act accordingly, okay?
let me remind you all, there is a female nature.
What I mean is that there are implications. If you believe that women care about looks, now you must only talk with the presumptions that looks are the most important thing. So your advice must be you must look smacks. If you are not good looking enough, sorry, you're not gonna have a dating life. That's the implication. But he cannot do that because that will alienate most of his watchers who are not having a successful dating life. He just can't look them honestly in the face and say, hey, most of you will never ever touch a girl. He cannot say that, okay? I can, and that's why I have less subscribers, but it is the truth. The majority of men will not have a dating life. And why? Because they do not meet the looks threshold, okay?
There is a shit test. There is hypergamy. There is something called femininity. There is pre-selection. These can be defined differently depending on who you ask, but
This can be defined this can be defined differently according to how you're coping. Is that what you want to say? Because to me they have fixed definitions that I understand and they're applicable at all times.
we all, to an extent, intuitively know they exist. Like, we all know that the mannerisms and
Knowing that it intuitively exists does not mean that you are living by it. Like you admit to it, but you live as if it didn't matter. I don't know how this works, but I'm sorry for pausing this often, but he's just contradicting himself that often. He's contradicting himself every fucking sentence.
behaviors and approach to dating and relationships women have and the way they see things is very different to the way men see things. So,
No.
this whole idea that everything is the same for both genders is just kind of stupid. And it is a big staple of the black pill. Like, this assumption here is a very important part of the black pill. So I'm actually going to put this one at A tier. I really think this is something a lot of black pill guys get wrong, especially when they give these false analogies relating to attraction. So if I tell a black
Let's not care about analogies. There are studies that prove that women care about looks more than men or care about looks as much as men, okay? The studies only prove as much. Like we added the more because of, accounting for the virtue signaling and
black pillar, yeah, dude, women get turned off by like weak feminine behavior. And then the black pillar is probably going to go, yeah, but if she shows weak feminine behavior, I'm still going to be attracted to her. Or if she shows vulnerability, I'm still going to be attracted to her. Yeah, because both genders are attracted to different things. Like, why is that so hard for people to understand? Next up, we have Chad doesn't exist theory. This is going to sound like cope to a lot of people, but you hear black pillars often speak of this mythical Chad. Chad doesn't have to go through that. Only us normies, us mortals have to go through it. Chad doesn't have to take her on a date. Chad doesn't have to buy anything for her. Chad doesn't have to cold approach. Chad can screw up. Chad can poison the well. Who are you talking about? Which Chad?
okay, I like where this is going because I kind of agree with this. A lot of people talk about this guy who doesn't have to do absolutely anything to get a girl, and I think it is overkill. The guys who can get away with that, I don't know, like there are like 10 of them in the whole planet. I don't think they exist. I don't think they will interact with our normal girls, the guys who can absolutely do nothing or do malicious, like harmful stuff and still get the girls. To a certain degree, yes, but the way some B-pillars do, it is overkill, and I'm gonna give him this one.
Please tell me which one exactly, because I think a lot of us know some good-looking guys who aren't as overpowered as this mythical Chad. And then you might say, well,
I'm gonna add a nuance, okay? I agree with him, but I think that there are a lot of Chads that are nerfed. There are a lot of Chads that they can get away with more if they wanted, but they're just nice people, okay? He can get anything he wants, so he did not train himself, to be evil, manipulative. But we witnessed this in the guys who ascended. Let's say he spent most of his life as a 5 or as a 6, so he had to learn game, to be manipulative, to learn how to talk, to do all this stuff, to gesture max in a way. And then he went like some ascension, like few surgeries and whatnot, and now he's an 8, that guy will slay and he will abuse the Chadness. He will get away with a lot of stuff. But the naturally born Chad, he does not have that evil mind, quote, quote, evil, right? He does not have this manipulative dark triad stuff where he's manipulating girls and trying to get away with as much as he wants, demanding foursomes and hey, bring your girlfriend to the bed and all this extreme stuff. Because he's just nice, life made him nice. The positive feedback loop he has been having his whole life made him into this naive in a good way, right? Because when you're Chad and naive, it's a good thing. Like, he does not have to try. So these Chads are nerfed in terms of they did not have to learn all these things. And the mythical Chad we're talking about would be a Chad in looks, but with the past experience of a sub 5. And, that's just rare in life. Natural Chads are rare, but ascended Chads are even rarer. So, yeah, you're not going to see that. It's very unlikely that you're going to meet someone like this.
Of course, bro, because they're high tier normies or it's because they're Chad lights. Well, then, I know some very, very good looking guys that are practical Chads, like the college ones. But then a black pillar will look at him and say, yeah, but he's not really Chad. He's not Chico. He's not fucking Jordan Barrett. Well, okay.
If you're talking to someone and he compares any guy you show to him to Meeks or Chico, you might disregard him. Even as a B pillar, these guys like bring us shame. You should not be talking to anyone who brings up like Brad Pitt, Chico, DiCaprio, whatever. Right? You're talking to him and your friend is like slaying. He's completely slaying, and he's a good-looking guy in your city and your country and whatever. And he's like, yeah, but if you compare him to Sean O'Prey, he does not look any like. You disregard those people directly, okay? Those people spend too much time on the internet.
There's like 20 of those guys. They might as well not exist. They're so insignificant because there's so little of them. The types of guys that you can say immediately walk outside and have like 20 women just on their knees giving them head. What percentage of guys actually have that as a reality? It's not even what percentage. I'm sure you can count them on both hands. It's really one of those dumb arguments where you can sort of like apply it to another niche to realize how stupid it is. Like,
I agree with him, by the way. I actually agree with this point, okay?
If I say, oh yeah, well, a billionaire doesn't have to work, or like a guy born into the Rockefeller family doesn't have to do shit in life. It's like, yeah, but
exactly, a good analogy also.
How many of those guys exist? Why are we thinking about such an insignificant percentage of the population? Like,
now, if you're talking about insignificant percentage of population, do you know who else is an insignificant percentage of population? The attractive girls who are willing to date down and who will not upgrade you if they have better options. Those are also insignificant portion of population that should and must be ignored. So, I'm using your same logic. If billionaires and real chads are to ignore because of their statistical insignificance, then the girls who are willing to date down and the girls who don't care about looks should also be not taken into consideration by the same logic.
Like, why do those guys live in your head rent free? Why don't we focus on reality, which is the world most of us live in, instead of focusing on this mythical, pedestalized archetype of a person that we created? So that's kind of the idea behind Chad doesn't exist theory. It's like this whole 8 PSL perfect Chad Mauger guy. You could argue that they exist, but how many of them really are there? And why are we focusing so much on a practically extinct species?
You should not be focusing on them. This will lead a lot of guys like who can get on a date with a girl and she's not treating him like a Chad, like she did not offer him, to suck his dick under the table, or she did not invite him to fuck her in the restaurant bathroom, and he's thinking, oh, she must not be into me. These guys are too extreme. They're not serious. They lack a lot of perspective. They lack a lot of relativity, and you should not be taking them seriously. And I agree with you 100%.
The point of this argument. So, I'm going to put this one at, where am I going to put this?
S tier, because I agree with it completely.
I'll put this at B tier. Next up, we have looks are a passing grade, which is actually what I'm a believer in. This is my worldview. This is how I see looks. I don't see looks as something like an autistic PSL scale where like, oh, when you go from a 6 to a 7, you see huge increases in attraction and treatment. And then when you go from 7 to 8, it's like a whole other world. I see things a lot more simply. I just see that looks are a passing grade.
I see things more simply is code for I prefer to cope and not see things as they are. Things are too complicated for me to see for how they are. So I made up a simple version in my head that I'm gonna be working by.
She looks at you, either you pass her looks threshold or you don't. If you pass it, everything else is going to work on her. If you don't pass it, it's going to be an uphill battle. Like, I definitely see it as, if you have
It's gonna be impossible, not an uphill battle. Stop talking as if there is a chance. If it's a no, it's a no. It's not an uphill battle, it is an impossible battle.
better looks, it's a bonus, and the better looking you are, the more helpful it's going to be. But, if you pass her minimum looks threshold, you're in the game, right? You're 100% in the game.
I think this works financially. I'm just gonna give a random number, guys, okay? But if you make six figures, like 100K US, okay, and you live in the US, not in the biggest city, it is fine. If you double that, you're living significantly more comfortably. Like you can afford like more vacations, you can afford more amenities, you live better. If you make it 300,000, your life again is extremely better. Like you benefit a lot up to a certain point, like between 15 million and 30 million, which is twice as much, your life has not improved because there are not a lot of things that you can buy with 30 but cannot buy with 15 million dollars. Like there is an amount of money that when you start making it, you don't want to be striving to make more because your life will not proportionally improve. But for looks, it's not the same at all. Maybe it is if you are like 9.5 and you want to get to 9.6. I doubt that your life will improve based on such an improvement in looks. But the amount of improvement in life from 5 to 6 is basically nothing. From 6 to 7, you start dating more consistently. But if you can make it from 7 to 8, you have a completely different life. You see girls as a different species. Your whole life is completely different. So I do not agree at all with this.
And really, from my experience, it doesn't take being a Chad to pass her minimum looks threshold. It really doesn't.
To pass the minimum threshold of being seen in public with her allowing you to entertain her, like be a noofy doofy for her, like minimum looks for what? Minimum looks for Chad treatment and genuine attraction, or minimum looks so she can be your friend and be seen in public with you? What threshold are you talking about?
So yeah, looks are a passing grade. You just have to pass. You don't have to get a fucking A plus. You just have to pass, and then you can let the other stuff do the work for you.
Because you are not interested in the most attractive girls. If it is a grade that you pass, then you are with average looking girls. Let's say you were someone ambitious, I would say, like you want a girl to be as attractive as you or more attractive than you. Why not? Because I think that's how it used to be. If you worked hard, if you had a good status in society, like before our times, right? You could get a girl who is more attractive than you, right? That's the goal, like for her to be younger and more attractive than you. That's the dream. Not everyone could accomplish it, but that's what you ideally want, right? If you are dumpster diving, if you are going for girls who are like obese, who are not as attractive as you want, girls that you are not excited to be next to, right? Then yeah, it's just passing a grade. So this tells me about your ambitions more than it being passing a grade or whatnot.
Obviously, that's not me saying don't be good looking. Try to be as good looking as you possibly can, because why not? But this is my worldview. This is how I see looks.
This is how I see looks, but he did not explain why he sees it like this. He's like, I know it might not be like this, but I decided to cope. I want it to be this way because it fits my narrative and it's more comfortable for me emotionally. It's better for my ego to consider it this way, so it will be this way.
Activity of attraction. So black pillars seem to think that attraction is entirely objective, which is why we have things like a PSL scale, which is why we do face ratings and we have like very specific ways of measuring the attractiveness of a face. But what black pillars don't understand is that women will never be like you guys. Women are never going to think like you guys. They're never going to behave like you guys. So it's kind of like a male gaze thing. It's almost like the bodybuilding community. You bodybuild, you get strong, you build all these muscles. Women don't really care that much. In the same way, when black pillars schizo obsess over facial features and things like that, what they don't realize is just because you rated someone a 7 and someone else a 6 doesn't mean women are going to have the same rating as you. Doesn't mean that women are going to be as attracted to who you think is better looking. Like what you think ultimately doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's all about what the person's real life treatment is and how women perceive him. That's really all that matters. So attraction is subjective to an extent. Now, here's where things get a little bit more nuanced. Ugliness is pretty objective. If someone is actually ugly, everyone's gonna agree that this person's ugly. But if somebody is in that normie, above average range, some women may perceive that guy to be a Chad, even though you don't, even though you think, what the fuck, this guy's a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. She doesn't care. She sees him as an 8 out of 10 for whatever reason. And that's because of the idiosyncratic nature of women. Guys, I know this is crazy. Women have preferences, okay? There are things that can't always be explained by science. Like she might look at a guy.
Sometimes, because you cannot explain something, it doesn't mean that it is mystical or mythical or impossible to understand. It is certainly that you lack the tools and IQ points to understand it. Everything in life potentially could be understood. There are a lot of things that we cannot understand right now. Maybe in the future we will be able to understand them. At least that's how I like to look at things. So this mystery, chemistry, vibe, energy, oh, something, I could not say why, but I found myself on his bed. I hate this sort of logic because it's just lazy thinking. We all had this guy, like, it was usually happening with English subject in school, but I always had like few classmates who said like, oh, English is just too complicated with me. Or it could be math, right? Math is too complicated for me. It's too complicated. And it's like, no, you just refuse to learn it. You just refuse to acquire the skills. Maybe you like the IQ points to get it, but other people can understand it. There exist men who understand everything about women. Maybe I'm gonna sound a bit pretentious, but I understand mostly everything that happens between the sexes in the attraction, in the sexual market value. I understand most of it and I can find an explanation for most of it. So things like niche maxing or like some preference or a girl who's being more rational, it all has explanations. You trying to say not everything can be explained is just a lazy way out, but with this argument, maybe it's going to be a surprise for you guys, but I agree 100% with what he says. 100%. Ugliness is objective. Attractiveness has some subjectivity to it, except that, if you put me and prime Brad Pitt next to each other, I don't think there are women who's going to pick me. I think 100% of women will pick prime Brad Pitt over me. But the fact that people in the community treat me so differently, some consider me as a Chad, which is not true. Another guys, like one yesterday, told me that I'm 4.5, which is also not true. I have this whole range. Well, I answered them like I answer everyone. I will base my attractiveness on how girls treat me and how girls that I'm attracted to treat me, like the attractive girls, the girls I think are beautiful, how they treat me. And that is to me a better indication of my position in the whole market. And that's what I rely on. So what he's saying is completely true. Trying to get this PSL scale and buying some face rating from Wheat Waffles or Rehab Room and thinking that the grade he gave you is like set in stone and that's the life you should expect. Like, no. If I got rated like a 5 or a 6, but my life feels more like a 7, then I'm most likely a 7, not a 6 or a 5, for example, But I completely agree that his argument, I think he should put it in S tier because the way that B pillars argue with this point, like, oh, it's subjective, and they take it to the point like if you don't look like Meeks, then you are like sub 5, or if you're not white, then it is over for you, GG, like ethnics cannot reproduce or something like this. Yeah.
Like him and be like, damn, I find him hot. And you're sat there, but the black pill said she shouldn't find him hot.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you going to do, bro? What are you going to do? And sometimes this girl.
Yeah. Actually, I had a friend in real life like this who got extremely mad when I was with a girl and he's like, yeah, but I can't get why she's with you. Maybe she's using you for something. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not like I have money to give her or anything. Like, maybe she's just into me, And he could not accept it. He's like, no. Bystanders, you must not be attractive to this girl. Something is up. Like, no. Like, and I'm like, okay, but she likes me. And she's like, with me. What are you going to do now? Like, she's calling me. She's texting me. She says me that she misses me and she wants to be with me. What are you going to do about this? You're going to convince her that she should not be wanting me? So, yeah, with this point, I agree.
May mog you. She's objectively more attractive than you, and yet she still finds you pretty good looking. And, if you put like a 6 out of 10 guy in a room full of women, the black pillar is going to expect that all 20 of these women are going to say, yeah, that's a 6 out of 10 above average high tier normie. What if I told you 1 or 2 of these women are going to say, that's a 10 out of 10. That's my perfect type. He's Chad in her eyes. So that's what I mean. Attraction can be subjective to a degree. So this is just me saying
From a 6 to a Chad is overkill, but I see his point and I'm not gonna argue like unnecessarily.
attraction can be subjective to a degree. I think this is a very strong argument, actually. I'm going to put this at S tier.
I agree.
Because this
I
whole
agree.
idea that, if you're not a male model or an objective Chad, you're never going to get genuine desire. You're never going to be her first choice. I think that's a load of garbage. Next up,
By the way, if that was true and only supermodels are getting up with girls, I think it would be felt more in the society. I think like for now, like 20% of men are participating in dating, but if it goes down to like 5% or like 2%, like only the Chads are procreating, I think we will be seeing this in the political, societal level sphere. We're gonna see a lot of problems. Okay, I don't want to get into this.
we have shifting the goalposts. I'm going to put this straight at S. This is one of my biggest problems with black pillars. This isn't a critique of the black pill. This is a critique of black pillars.
This is not a critique of B pillars or blue pillars or red pillars. If you're talking to someone who's consistently shifting the goalposts, you must end the conversation and find a better use for your time. Changing the goalposts is something that is not nice to talk, like it's annoying when you're talking to someone like this. But my problem is that YBC2 Code is someone who's constantly shifting the goalposts. He contradicts himself so much, and not even between videos. A lot of times in the same video, like he would say something in this argument and then go completely opposite of it in the next argument, which is basically like, changing position, shifting the goalposts, the way you want to call it. And he is guilty of this. And a lot of B-pillars are guilty of this. It's not like I'm defending anyone. Everyone who's guilty of this should not be taken seriously.
Something they do where sometimes they don't really argue in good faith, or they just keep shifting the goalposts. So for example, you'll show them an anecdote of a guy with a girl who's not his looks match, and then they'll say, oh yeah, but she actually is his looks match, or oh, even though I previously rated him LTN, oh, he's actually MTN or HTN. So they'll change your rating and they'll change your looks such that their worldview remains consistent, instead of just being honest and saying, damn, this is an example that the black pill doesn't account for. Or sometimes,
or it is an exception. But I give him this, okay? I totally agree. If they show you a guy and like, hey, rate him, and you say like, oh, he's a 3, like, they show you Asman Gold, and you say like, oh, he's 4 out of 10, and then they show you him next to that girl, and you're like, okay, I would give him a 5, 5.5, and also he's rich and famous, and like, I mean, you can be consistent. You can say like, yeah, I gave him like a 3, but that's his status and stuff. Like, you can be consistent in your argumentation, but if you are caught changing your grade, like you gave him a 3 and now you're gonna give him a 5 just because something has changed, then yeah, it is clear that you were not in good faith or you were not serious with the debate or whatever.
they'll just shift it in a different way. They'll say, oh yeah, there's something going on we don't know about. It's his status, it's his money, it's whatever.
That makes more sense, actually, that there's always things you don't know. Like, if I look at a couple on the street and I see like a Chad with a girl who's like a 6 out of 10, I say like, okay, this is most couples. If I see the opposite, if I see a guy who is like average looking with an extremely attractive girl, I will be like, okay, what's the deal? I will be interested to know the things that I will not know. In most cases, I will never know because that's life. I'm not gonna go up to them and ask them like, hey, what's your story? How did you end up together? Hey, you too. No, this is unacceptable. Explain to me how this hottie is with this average dude and why it's not me. Why it's not me? Why it's never me, right? Or why these girls don't, like, if they're looking for normal guys, why don't they just pick me, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna turn. Okay, back to being serious. You will never know, but assuming that everything is in apparent and there is not something hidden is a bad thing, because if you look at these guys like Don Bilzerian, Andrew Tate, and a lot of guys who are on podcasts like Fresh and Fit, etc., we all discovered later that they were paying these girls to be with them. And that information is crucial, because if you came to me and told me like, hey, Fresh and Fit or Dan Bilzerian or whatever, he's slaying. And then I tell you, okay, but let's think, maybe something is there, and you refuse to allow me that doubt. What will be your argument when later we uncover that they were paying those girls? What will you say then? If we discover, for example, that Hamza was paying his girls, well, I don't think so. They were so shocked that I really don't think that he was paying any of them. I mean, if he was paying, I think he would have gone for something better, honestly. But yeah, if you later find out that she was actually with him for money or status, or that she was cheating on him with his personal trainer and he was just her ticket out of poverty or her passport to the United States or whatever, yeah, how are you going to backtrack on that?
Sometimes that's true, it could be true, but sometimes it's just not true. And when you look at the way black pillars make assumptions about things, when they always assume the worst case, the negative, the bad thing, it just goes to show that sometimes, they're not really arguing in good faith. They just want to protect their worldview at all costs.
Assuming the worst case scenario, I'm not a pessimistic person, but it makes more sense to me than just being hopeful. I don't know what in life made you so hopeful. Like, you look at a situation, if I go on the street and I see an 8 or a 9 model girl with like average height, balding, fat dude who's not even charismatic, and I look at them and I'm not thinking like something is wrong, and I'm thinking like maybe she's just that nice. What in life made me so hopeful? Like, I'm asking you, YBC Too Cold. I know you're not gonna be watching this video, but if any of your fans is watching and he wants to answer in the comments on your behalf, what made you so hopeful in life? What made you look at this and I say like, oh, she must just be a nice, down-to-earth girl, next-door girl vibe, and she's into him despite him not being a Chad. Such a nice couple, such a kind-hearted girl. What made you so hopeful in life? What was your experience that you were hopeful like this? Because I had the blue-pilled parents. My parents catered to me. They protected me from the brutality of society. Yet when I was old enough and I was confronted with the society, I learned myself, to go for the worst, to expect the worst, not in a pessimistic way, but just to be prepared, just to react accordingly, just to not be extremely naive and taken advantage of. I don't want to be the guy who looks at an exception and think that's going to happen to me. Like, I am that guy. I am that special guy who will be the exception, who will gain more than what he deserves, quote unquote. Like, I will get 10 Stacys just because I'm the main protagonist in life. No, I'm not that guy. So how did you end up so hopeful?
This isn't the entire black pill. This is a specific section of the black pill, like the goddess kind of section where people just talk about, well, in nature, people are attracted to looks, status and money doesn't exist. I mean, dude, this is just an appeal to nature fallacy. Like,
is this how Goaties speak? I just don't know how he speak. I don't know. Is this like a good impression of Goaties? I don't know.
just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's correct or that it's the best way to do things. I mean, in nature, we didn't have microphones and technology and any of that stuff, and yet now we do. So does that mean that nature is right or wrong? Like, you see how dumb some of these arguments are, the appeal to the nature guys? It's like, dude, we're not living in tribes anymore. We're not cavemen anymore. We don't walk around the woods searching for boars to hunt. Like, that's not.
But we are the same people. You must realize that if, let's say, a nuclear war just started right now and they raised humanity as we have, and all the adults are dead and we have only babies left, like a couple of babies survived and now they're gonna grow and they're gonna start all over, they will be in tribes and hunting and boars and stuff. So we are still the same human beings. So there is a reason to appeal to nature, but the whole nature, not nature, biology, evolution biology, I think I will make a lot of videos on similar subjects. I don't have to open that discussion now.
Next up, we have clavicular's existence, which I'd also like to juxtapose with Yad's existence. Yad one's a bit of a joke, Yad doesn't, I don't know if Yad pulls. No one really knows. Clavicular, on
Yad pulls, Gigastasis. His charisma is infinite.
the other hand, is a very interesting case because, for all practical purposes, he's a Chad. In my humble
Yes, Clavicular is a Chad. Anyone who does not agree is stupid.
opinion, I think he's a Chad. For those of you chronically online people, you're probably going to say HTN or Chadlai, or dude, if he goes to a college campus or if he goes pretty much anywhere in the world, he's going to mog most people. Okay?
Yes. If I see a guy like Clavicular in my vicinity, I will, not try to compete with him, okay? He mugs a lot. He mugs hard.
Okay, so I don't want to hear cope about this guy isn't Chad. Practically, he is, okay? Clavicular, though, is an interesting case of a Chad still trying to be Chad. A Chad who is not content with how much of a Chad he is.
This is exactly the video I made about Clavicular. You can watch it if you haven't. I made a whole video discussing the problem of Clavicular which is basically what he's talking about right here.
And yet, he wants to look smacks more. He wants to be more of a Chad, but at what cost? And it seems like a means to an end. So, I really like his content. He's hilarious. One of the best guys in the BP space. But his existence puts a big question mark on how effective the black pill is. Because a lot of people think when they get to his looks level, everything's going to be rainbows and sunshine. But he's at his looks level, and it's still not enough for him, which means that he's clearly not getting the results he wants to get, and he wants better results, which means being Chad isn't enough to get the best results. I hope you guys see what I'm trying to say.
I see what you're trying to say, but I want to tell you something that clavicular is an exception in his category. So for the guys who look as good as clavicular, if you pick 100 guys who are as attractive as clavicular, there will be like 2 or 3 who are too bad at the personality department that they ruin the potential relationship they can have, okay? So he's not representative of a Chad. He's a case of a Chad that is so bad in terms of personality that he manages to ruin the initial attraction that he creates. That is not the majority of guys who look like him. But more details on my clavicular video that you can watch. I don't want to repeat everything that I have said in that video here. This video is already too long.
And Clav himself also admitted and said plenty of times that status and money and all that stuff are extremely important, and that it's not just 100% looks. So
Because he has stuff to sell, of course, that's why.
Clav is actually less black pilled than people think he is. But again, he's just one guy, so I can't really use this. I can't use him as a crutch. Like, see, guys,
if you look at his personal life, you realize that he's more BPO than most guys, but then he has to be smart about his business. The way he's taking stuff like testosterone at 14 and injecting himself with illegal substances or whatever, all these actions shows you that he is more BP than the average guy. He's overdoing it, in my opinion. His audience is quite young. That is actually dangerous what he's doing.
Next up, we have neurodivergence fallacy. Okay. Damn, bro, I'm coming up with all these crazy terms. So what I mean by neurodivergence fallacy is the mistaken belief that being neurodivergent will hold you back, but social skills don't matter. In my opinion, that's a bit of a contradiction.
It is not a contradiction. It is not. I have a perfect example for you. Being bald is damaging. Having hair does not increase your SMV. Having hair is normal. Losing the hair makes you look worse. Having good teeth is normal. Having bad teeth or no teeth is bad. The same thing as being neurotypical does not help. That's the norm. Being neurodivergent damages you. It's not a contradiction.
Black pillars, on one hand, underestimate how important social skills and your mannerisms and your behavior.
What you're calling social skills, mannerism, and behavior, they are being normal. So you are like, we are underestimating being normal? What is your start point? Like below normal? Now you have to gesture max to appear normal? No, that is being normal. That is having regular parents that allowed you to develop normally as a child, and now you're normal, healthy, socially healthy. You know how to interact with people. That is normal. You cannot underestimate it. It should be given.
Behaviors are, they say it's all your looks, bro, as long as you're normal. But then they'll say, well, if you're weird enough, women get turned off by it. But
Yes.
if women get turned off by one weird behavior, or a guy who's not socially calibrated, then it follows that what you say and what you do matters. So black pillars don't want to admit what you say and what you do matters.
What you do and what you say matters. When you are attractive, you can ruin it. But if you're not attractive, whatever you say doesn't matter. And if you're attractive enough, then maybe what you say doesn't matter. But we already talked that those are extremely minority of guys. If you want to really understand how this works, if you are attractive to her initially, and then you do something wrong, you can ruin your chances with her. If you are not attractive to her initially, whatever you do will not affect you positively. So yes, it works in that way and not in the other way. And this is completely consistent. There is no contradiction. Again, there is no contradiction. You are misrepresenting the situation.
But then they'll still say, you can't be too weird, which is a form of expression. And in my opinion, black pillars are really off the mark with the neurodivergence argument, because they'll say like, oh, you just have to be neurotypical. But then there's a lot of neurotypical people who are good looking, but they're like socially awkward and weird, and they still fumble the girl. Like by Black Pillar's logic, if you're good looking, the only way you can fumble her socially is by being autistic, which is just not true. You could be completely neurotypical, but you're fucking weird, you're not confident, you're afraid, you say the wrong thing, and then boom, you fumble. So, the whole neurodivergence fallacy is a big contradiction in the Black Pill. It's like behavior matters, but only when we say it matters, only when it's autism, not when it's anything else. So,
I explained, okay? I explained. The more attractive you are, the more shit you can get away with. There is proportionality. Other than that, your bad behavior will take you down, your good behavior will not take you up. That's consistent. Again, there is no contradiction.
I'm actually going to put this at S tier. This is a
No,
very strong
this is a
argument.
stupid argument.
Next up, we have masculinization of women. So this is the argument that, women aren't supposed to care about looks this much. Men are, but the reason women care as much about looks as men now is because they've just been masculinized. Like men have been feminized, women have been masculinized, and as a result, women care a lot more about looks. They care a lot less about masculinity, behavior, dominance, confidence, etc. Which I think is a pretty cope point. I see where people are getting at when they say this, but again, like women still care about those things. I don't think they've been masculinized to the point where they're practically men. Although it definitely does look like it's heading in that direction. So this is the first.
I'm gonna make a separate video on this, but in short, let's go fast here. Women always cared about looks, except that they had other things to care about. Now that they can make their own money, society is more or less safe and they can rent their own houses, they can have Ubers, they can have food delivered and all these things, they can go back to only focusing about looks. But given everything equal, they always wanted looks. So there is no masculinization process that happened. Women always cared about looks. They just now are allowed to express it more, and it is safer to, be about looks.
First one that I'm going to put in D tier. I think women are more masculine and it has repercussions, but I don't think it's to the extent people say where it's like, oh, now they're practically men. All they care about is looks. That's just not true. Next up, we have evolutionary psychology. And so looks might not be the biggest piece of the pie. It might be a big piece of the pie, but certainly not the entire pie. So that's what evolutionary psychology talks about. Now, admittedly, this has its flaws, which is that even Buss himself stated that short-term mating strategies for women differ from long-term mating strategies. When women think about short-term, it's
Here's the catch. Like I was just waiting for it. Here's the catch. You are a winner if she chooses you after she hits the wall and she's done with the CCC and she chooses you, then you are the winner. That's the catch, guys. They're talking about long-term, like if your goal in life is to improve yourself so you are a good long-term partner, and screw these short-term guys who are only good for sex, like they only just sleep with them, right? Those losers. They sleep with them, without condoms, they let them come inside them and inside all their holes. Those are the losers, guys, okay? Let me be a winner stepdad for her 3 children from 4 different men. Yeah.
Mainly looks. Like when they're looking to hook up with people, it's like, oh, he looks good, he's attractive, I'll hook up with him. When it comes
that's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only way you know that you're genuinely desired, okay? We all hear these stories where a girl who is like married to a guy who's a stepfather and basically tells him or lets him know that, hey, if I didn't have a kid, I wouldn't have considered you. So yeah, how is that a win? I don't know.
to long term, they care more about the other stuff. But then you could just make the argument, well, short term is the most genuine form of desire.
Yes.
The real primal,
Yes.
actual desire. So that means that it is actually all looks. So because of that, I might actually drop this a little bit. I might put this in A tier.
So he started debunking himself. Maybe this is improvement. I mean, I wish for him to improve in this area. I wish for him to I wish for every man on earth, to realize these things. So if you're watching so far, by the way, thank you for watching so far. Put a like under the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not. I hope you are enjoying this video.
Next up, we have low IQ communities. Black pill does attract a lot of pretty dumb people. Like, because of how intuitive the black pill is and because it's so easy to digest, it doesn't take a lot of intelligence.
It is easy to digest. I mean, I can accept any argument except that saying that it is easy to digest. It is not. You haven't digested it yet, and it is not easy to digest. Come on.
And a lot of black pillars are absolutists. Like they'll say it's over if you're this. This doesn't.
I am not an absolutist and I don't agree with this. However, when you are smart enough to understand nuances, you are also smart enough to manipulate nuances to portray the situation differently. You understand the nuances, but you have an audience that you want to sell stuff. You want, you want them to get more hope to watch your positive videos. So you manipulate the nuance and you end up being the one shifting the goalposts, misrepresenting stuff, redefining. And in the end, you end up confusing people more than actually explaining to them what happens.
So I'm gonna put this at C tier because it's not an attack on the black pill. It's just the
This is not against PP or anything. The majority of people are just stupid, and that's it. The majority of red pillars, blue pillars, black pillars, all the pillars and non-pillars, the majority of humans are low IQ. So this is just a non-argument. But yeah, in our community, we have a lot of absolutists like this who make us look stupid, but
community. Next up, we have genuine desire is an illusion. So, black pillars claim that the most genuine form of desire is looks. But what if genuine desire entirely is just an illusion? If you lose your looks because of an accident or like some kind of deformity, is she still gonna love you?
if she's still loving you, that's good. If enough time has passed, I believe that attachment is formed, but then in this sphere, we don't talk about attachment at all because none of us have seen a relationship that lasted more than 4 years.
If the answer to that is no, can you really call it genuine? Is attraction that fickle, that weak? I mean, what difference does it really make if she likes you for your looks versus if she likes you for your status and money? You could lose all three things. All three things are superficial. All three things are materialistic. So if you really look at it from that perspective, you have to put a big question mark on whether genuine desire exists. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that some forms of desire aren't better than other forms of desire. You could make the argument, well, if she likes me for my looks, at least I am more my looks than I am my status and my money.
So you know
That is
this.
part of me more. And if it affects her physical desire differently, which means, she's less likely to cheat, she's actually more interested in you as a person, then you could make the case that looks are the most genuine form of desire. So this argument is good in a way, but it also has its flaws. C tier. Next up, we
He explained that this is not an argument against the BP, so he made the suggestion, he debunked it, and he still put it on his list, and not even as a D. You said it yourself, only the desired for your looks is important. If you were going to have sexual relationships, like right now you are in some bed laying down, and I'm telling you there are 3 girls in the next room, they look the same more or less, and one of them is interested in the fact that you make a lot of money on YouTube. The other one is interested in the fact that you can make her famous on YouTube with you, like show her off on your Instagram. And the third one really likes the way you look. She finds you cute. You're going to sleep with one. You're going to have sexual intercourse with one of them. Which one are you picking? Okay, I don't need to talk any further.
have fluctuation of interest. Top of S tier. This is one of the biggest things that's going to make you question the BP. Unless you believe looks only gets your foot in the door, nothing else. If looks was really the bread and butter of relationships, of attraction, and it's the thing that held everything together, why is it the case that some women would be extremely interested in you, flirting, giving you choosing signals, but then the next day they go completely cold and completely distant?
Because they like the attention? Let me see where he's going with this.
Your face and your height didn't change in the span of a day. Your looks are the same. Your looks attracted her. She was interested, but now she's
No, she was not interested. Maybe she was in a mood that she needed some validation, like she wanted to feel good about herself, and the next day she did not have that feeling. That's what changed. Is this like your top argument? Is this like your best argument? Like you debunked the BP?
not, which means there's something else at play affecting her interest level
Her
that is not
mood.
physical and it's psychological.
Her mood. Girls like attention. Other than like, they get attention from guys they do not intend to sleep with. We just don't have this as men. You yourself said that we are different, and I'm showing you a difference between men and women. Men only engage with girls they're actually interested in. Girls just engage with any guy she deems good enough to give her attention, but if he meets the lower bar of good enough to be seen in public with her or to be flirting with, but he does not meet the other threshold of sleeping with, then she might talk to him and entertain him because Chad is busy. That is actually that is actually a good reason. Chad is busy. He told her, "I'm gonna be busy for the next week," because he's talking to other girls. And meanwhile, like, she wants him, she's thinking about him, she's using you as a distraction until he frees up. This is how to explain it. It's very easy. How is this your best argument? This is the easiest one to debunk.
So that's really what makes you think like, holy fuck, the whole looks argument is so stupid because like I could have the looks, I could attract her, but then all of a sudden I don't attract her anymore.
He does not see the difference. You were good looking enough for her to waste your time, but you were not good looking enough for her to be with. That's the difference. You don't even know this. You're making YouTube videos teaching men about women, and you do not even know this nuance. Come on.
And then obviously, because of the lack of nuance and because of shifting the goalposts, black pillars are going to respond to this and say, it's because he wasn't Chad, right? It's because he wasn't Chad. But then we go back to Chad doesn't exist theory. Okay, I'm sorry for not being a part of the 20.
No, it's because he was good looking enough for his attention to matter, but was not good enough to reward for that attention. This is very easy.
Men on this earth that don't experience fluctuating interest levels. I'm sorry, but what am I gonna do? So yeah, man, the fact that her interest changes, goes from low to high, high to low, is not constant, means that there's something else at play because your looks are constant.
The other thing at play is her mood, is her availability, is the fact that she's bored or she's having fun, she's talking to Chad, or maybe she's fighting with Chad, or maybe he's ignoring her. Those are the variables.
So that's something to keep in mind. Next up, it leads to nihilism. So this isn't really an argument against the points being made by the black pill. It's more of an argument against the effect of the black pill, what it's caused. Does it cause more bad than good? Well, we can all say it 100% leads to nihilism and depression in a lot of.
No, it saved my life and it made me focus on my looks. And thanks to that, I have a better life. So 100% of cases, you're already wrong.
People. When you realize that things aren't in your control, that everything's determined, it makes you less likely to actually want to get up and do something about it, to change, to feel like you have control over your life. And this is why, if you are going to be black pilled, you have to have a white pill approach to it. You have to like take it and say, I'm going to use it to my benefit. I'm going to try to get better and then run with it. But if you let it defeat you and destroy you like a lot of guys do, you're finished.
It is not defeated. Like, you went back to the most blue-pilled argument ever, which is that the BP is negative. No, it is not. If you're good looking, it is actually positive. If you are bad looking and you realize that it is over for you, then my question to you, I can just answer this with one question. What is the point of being hopeful if there is no hope? What is the point of having hope if there is no hope? Like, there is no hope to be had and you're being hopeful, as in delusional hope. What is the point of that hope?
Finished. So even if we say that the black pill is 100% true, it's also true that it has a lot more bad than good in it. It's caused a lot of people unnecessary suffering and harm. Whereas if they just took it correctly, aka the white pill way, they would be a lot better off. A tier. Next
So you want them, even when they did the BP, to find a way to cope about it.
up, we have it feminizes men. So this is the argument that when you become too black pilled and too obsessed with your looks, you almost become like a woman. Like it's really mainly women who give a fuck about surgery and looking their best. Like it's mainly women who obsess so much about their looks. That's why they spend hours in front of the mirror.
Because opposite to you, they know that looks are important and they are doing everything to improve their looks. You say that you know that they're important, but you don't live it. Like, your life does not show. I don't know what he does in his personal life, but if he's not actively improving his looks, then he does not believe in the importance of looks, the amount that he should be believing in it. He understands, like, yeah, looks are important, but then any person on the street will tell you, like, of course looks are important. Yeah, but you should know more than that.
It's kind of weird when men do it. That's the argument here. But again, it's just really people adapting to sexual selection. Men are realizing looks matter more, and now they're taking care of their looks more.
Yes.
So I think the argument that it feminizes men is weak. Maybe it would have been
it is not weak because a lot of men now just spend their day looking at attractive men, and that is something I will never get behind. Like, I will never understand why you would do that. But that's how I would frame the argument. Like, it makes men obsessed with other men, like looking at other men. That's the weird part about it, not the fact that it makes them care about looks. Caring about looks is not feminine at all. I think the most masculine thing you can do is to focus on your looks, because by doing so you beat the social pressure around men, the peer pressure, like, oh, you're gay, you're like, plucking your eyebrows, you're doing makeup, oh, you're gay. If you beat that pressure, that is you being masculine. There is nothing feminine about that, because in the end you are more likely to get what you want compared to the guy who refuses to do all those things, which is peak masculinity.
Considered feminine 20 years ago, but nowadays there might actually be a real need to lock in on your looks as much as people are now. So if people are adapting and trying to get laid, you can't really blame them. That's just the natural course of things. D tier. Next up, we have it's autistic. So, this whole obsession with numbers and scales and ratings and percentages. How about we just drop all of that and go out and talk to some chicks and have fun and live our lives, right? So again, S tier, right? You guys,
Touch grass. He unironically finished with touch grass. This video was so long, and if you watched so far, then you are a Chad in my heart. Consider joining the channel as a supporter. Thank you for just liking the video or sharing with me in the comments. Hopefully this video was enjoyable for you. Tell me if you want more like this. If you want a different type of content, let me know in the comments. This was Guidance Vault, and I'm retreating.